Just a quick overview of managing LDAP users using embedded LDAP in WebLogic. So I go to my WebLogic console under my domain. I click on Security Realms. I see my VGN LDAP realm. And in the Users and Groups tab, I can create new users. So I can click New and put in a user like Bill, a test user, and then put in the standard password. And then click OK to save the user. Then I can go to Groups and create a group for that user. And then click OK. Once the group is created, I can go back to users and put that user into that group under Groups. So I can go to Authors and select that user there. Then I need to go to that group and add the unique member attribute to that group. And I do that under the group. So I save that. I go back to Users or Groups and add the unique member for that group. So I go to Groups, Authors, Membership. That's subgroups, but if I want to do an attribute for groups, you have to do that in the LDAP server. So this is a requirement of WIM, simply because we use a unique member attribute, which is a little old school, and that's okay. So that's one way to manage groups, but since we have to go to LDAP anyway, through Softera or another LDAP editor, it's better just to build everything from LDIF files rather than going through all this. So I want to make sure I can connect to my LDAP server, which was in the previous video, and see the groups in OU. And what I can do is create an LDIF file using one of the example groups. I've already done that. I can send that to you. But I've created a people LDAP and a groups LDAP, and I've put in the appropriate attributes. So if I look at my groups LDAP, I've got a group called developers. It has a new member URL, which is in the new version of WebLogic LDAP. Otherwise, it's pretty much the same. We do have this old school attribute, which is still required by WIM, so I need to put that in there. And then I need to look at my people LDIF and make sure this is going to work as well. So I have a user, there's the DN for the user, the password, the email, the CN, common name, and the surname. And then this is the standard password already in secure shell hashing algorithm. Once those are created, then I can import them into LDAP. So I go back to my Softera, and first I do the users. So import the people LDIF. Now I have a user called Evan. Then I go to my groups folder and then import the groups LDIF. And I should have a user or a group called developers, and it should have a unique member attribute that points to my user. And that's it. The only other issue is that you won't see this show up immediately. It takes 10 minutes by default for this to actually show up. So if you go to WIM server app console, you're not actually going to see these new users for a while. So if you go to workbench roles and you try to do a search on users, you're not going to see anything for a while. Sometimes it takes a minute or two, like this one is already there, but usually it takes 10 minutes. So to fix that, we go to our config console under subcomponents authorization, and we set our refresh to a lower value. The default is 10 minutes, so I'm going to set that to maybe 1 minute, and then save that and go ahead and commit that change. I'll have to restart my runtime services environment for that to take place. But then otherwise, what will happen after that point is as soon as you add a user in Softera, it's going to, our group, it's going to show up and be available to map that group to our user to a role.